Hello there, people of the internet. I have a whiteboard now. Look at this bad boy. That's pretty cool, right? I'm probably going to find a way to mount it at some point, but for now, I'm just going to kind of doodle on it. I've been wanting a whiteboard for a minute because I want to explain pressure curves. A lot of times whenever reloaders are talking about whatever gunpowder it is that they're using, they're talking about pressure curves, and a lot of people don't really understand what that actually is and how it can cause issue. And one of the things I'd like to touch on is, well, if you think about the different burn rates of powder, it doesn't make sense that a fast burning powder will not produce enough pressure to get, say, a rifle bullet out of the gun at high velocities, or it will make too much pressure to where the gun essentially blows itself up. And there's no gray area or middle area for that, and it doesn't make sense. And a lot of that has to do with the pressure curve, and that is exactly what I'm going to sit down and talk to you guys about today. So a pressure curve isn't necessarily what it sounds like. A pressure curve is more of a rate of acceleration for the increase of pressure. Like, for example, if we have a rifle barrel, let's say this is a rifle barrel, and we have a slow burning powder to where once it ignites in the chamber over here, like let's just say this right here is a chamber where the round is and it ignites, and that slow burning powder has a long pressure curve, then this is not to spec, by the way, but this will be a good representation of what to expect with pressure curves. If that slow burning powder has a long pressure curve, then as that burn rate and pressure curve increases, it increases to the maximum height of how fast that pressure is rising. And let's say, I don't know, it reaches that about halfway through the barrel. Again, not to actual spec, but this should be a good, adequate representation. Past the point of the highest point on the pressure curve, that pressure is still rising. It is just rising at a slower rate. Like, as the bullet is going down, this line right here represents how fast the pressure is going up. And if it is going up by, say, this is again, not accurate, this is just a simplistic way of stating it so people can understand it. If it's going up by 100 psi every millisecond until it reaches this point, and then it starts going up 50 psi per millisecond, the pressure is still going up, but the rate at which it goes up is still quite low, and that is why you want a nice slow burning powder for long rifle barrels, because the pressure has to go up nice and slowly. If you use a fast burning powder, like say a pistol powder of some kind, to where your pressure curve just immediately jumps up to like maximum pressure basically as soon as it is fired, then your pressure curve, although it is lower pressure than what the rifle is able to handle, is already at a really, really high pressure. And then even though the pressure curve is significantly lower, oftentimes lower to the point to where you lose pressure before the bullet even leaves the barrel, it still has enough time to climb in pressure as it pushes that bullet down the barrel to the point to where the gun will reach catastrophic failure before the bullet leaves the barrel, because that pressure is still climbing. And that is one of the reasons why you can't use fast burning powder to get appropriate velocities from a long barrel using, well, whatever bullet it is that you're going to be using. Oftentimes, I will use a fast burning powder inside of a rifle cartridge to make what I call a gallery load. You can get pistol velocities from your rifle cartridges using a fast burning powder. Like in 308, I might load, say, 8 grains of tight group with a 150 grain bullet, and I'm probably getting about 1,500 feet per second from that. But if I increase the amount of powder I put in to increase the pressure of the bullet flying, I will notice that my gun is starting to show signs of excessive pressure, and that is because of that pressure curve of that fast burning powder that we had just talked about. That pressure curve of that fast burning powder just reaches its peak way, way too soon from a long barrel. Now, if we had far shorter barrels, like a 308 pistol of some kind, and we were to load a fast burning powder, we would see better results. But from a long barrel, even though that pressure curve it's going to be significantly faster at reaching its peak than a slower burning powder, you would still reach a greater pressure than what it is that you would need for your gun to erupt. That is not a very good way of explaining that. So let's say this gun barrel right here blows up at 50,000 psi, and I am trying to run a bullet with fast burning powder, like let's say it's a 308 barrel. I'm trying to run fast burning powder in a 308 barrel, and I'm trying to get full velocity out of it. And the reason why it won't work is because that fast burning powder is going to, say, with its pressure curve, immediately reach 30,000 psi, and then that pressure curve is going to go down, but the pressures inside of the barrel are still going, they're just going at a slower rate. And then by the time I reach 50,000 psi, the fail point of this barrel, we're not through the entire barrel, we're only halfway through the barrel, and that is whenever the pressure causes the firearm to fail. Unlike a slow burning powder that may even reach less pressure than that fast burning powder, that slow burning powder, it reaches its peak at the fail point of that barrel, not necessarily going to always be the case. As I said, this right here is not an exact to spec. But that slow burning powder reaches its peak far later inside of the firing of that barrel. And so as a result of that, by the time the bullet leaves that barrel, the pressure has not risen to the point of causing gun failure. So just as a general rule, the faster burning your powder is, the shorter your barrel has to be, and typically speaking, the lower velocity your bullets are going to be. There's a really delicate balance between velocity and powder burns and rates and whatnot, and there are some relatively fast burning rifle powders, like say 2400, and those are more or less for intermediate cartridges, like say really lightweight 5.56, like 55 grain bullets and even up to 77 grain bullets. They're still going to be relatively lightweight. And you absolutely can load that fast burning powder into a like full power rifle cartridge, like there's 308 loadings out there for 2400. But the curve, or the pressure curve of that 2400 is still within spec of, say, your 308 ammunition to allow you to be able to get full velocity with your round before you reach a point of failure. Unlike something with, say, like tight group, you can't load tight group into a 308 just because it burns too rapidly. The pressure curve on it is reached too quickly. It is designed for pistol cartridges at far slower velocities. Once it reaches that pressure curve, if your bullet is going, say, 1,500 feet per second, that's probably not the velocity it would be going at. But if your bullet's going 1,500 feet per second, by the time it reaches the peak of that pressure curve and the pressure is still building, that bullet might be going at 2,000 feet per second by the time the pressure has built to the point to where the gun is at a fail point. So that bullet still has not reached its full velocity, and it is still inside of the actual barrel of the gun. Pressure has not dropped. It has just raised steadily to the point to where the gun is going to fail. So pay attention with the amount, or with the types of powder it is that you're actually loading into your gun. You can't just load willy-nilly. You got to pay attention to what pressure curves your powders are actually using. And hopefully this video helped people understand why. So thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode. I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.